Hello again, Cloud Gurus. In this lecture, we're going to pick up where we left off last time. We're going to create our Node 8.10 function. This can take a few seconds because it's got to go out to IAM and create the role, and then it can create the Lambda function and attach that to the IAM role. Great, so we're all set. You can see the little congratulations and make that go way up here. And now we can put our function code into the handler. You can see that the default handler is in index.js. That's the file name here. And the function name is handler, defined here. That's expressed also in the handler, which is the entry point for our function. So you can see index.handler here. To arrive at index.handler, what we did is we put together the file path, the file name, and then the name of the function. In our case, the file's not in a folder at all. It's just called index.js. And then the function's name is handler. Here's a couple of example names. So you have 1/2, those are both directories. And then inside of that, you have the index file, and it has a function called doTheThing. If it wasn't in a directory, you would get rid of those slashes, which are used to separate the directory path, and instead just say index.doTheThing. And in our case, we're going to use index.handler. In JavaScript, it's pretty common to name the main file of a package index or main.js. And with Lambda, it's most common to name your entry point function handler. So we're just going to use index.handler for most of this course. You can change this, but that's how we arrived at index.handler. And we have to make sure to hit save because that's what uploads the code from the console up to AWS so that they can run our Lambda function. If you scroll down past the code editor, you can see there are many more options and boxes to fill in. Environment variables, tags, we're not going to get to those yet. The execution role, which is the Guru demo role that we selected, and these basic settings, which are the description, we can fill that in if you like, and the memory, which is the amount of memory that is allocated to our Lambda function. We chose 128 megabytes, and the timeout, which is 3 seconds by default. We'll get to the rest of these settings later, but first let's talk about the basic settings of memory and what that means for your function. The setting for memory on your Lambda has an intense effect on the performance because along with increasing the amount of memory, it also increases the amount of CPU and network bandwidth available to your function. So the CPU and memory and network all scale together. Of course, the cost also scales with memory. So 2 times more memory becomes 2 times more expensive per 100 millisecond period that your Lambda function is running. If you have a compute or memory intense function that more compute or memory makes it go faster, you may save money by increasing the amount of CPU because it'll finish its work and stop running faster, which is the whole premise of a Lambda function. Today, you can allocate up to 3 gigabytes of RAM, and that's going to be in 64 megabyte increments. So you can be very granular about exactly how much money and how much memory you want. If you go above 1500 megabytes of memory, you get 2 cores. So that's a second core. So it's not just a faster CPU. You actually get 2 separate cores for your code to execute on. Some code can make use of this. Other code has trouble making use of more than 1 core serially. So you have to think about your code and test if you're going above that 1500 megabyte threshold, because you may just be wasting that extra CPU that you're paying for. In the next lecture, we're going to test our Lambda function, we're going to create a test event, and we're going to see how it logs and how we can see the internals of our functions as they run.